What did I do here in Africa? Well... My family is African. My mum and dad both grew up in Zimbabwe, and even though they don't live there anymore, we still have cousins, aunties, uncles, grandparents who are still knocking about in Toto's 1982 hit single. And from the 5th to the 29th of December 2018, we toured Africa and had the trip of a lifetime. Before we start, because this is a long video, I want to show you the contents of this movie to come, so depending on what interests you, you can skip to different time codes and see the parts that you care for, or just watch the whole thing and see how we go. So, on with the movie. Close enough. Let's go. Before we embarked on our transformative journey, we had to leave Australia. And as always, when traveling with AIDS, it was stressful. Weighing the suitcases, getting everyone showered and in the taxi on time. Gosh golly, it was a bitch. See, we had a 10-hour midnight flight, and surprisingly, but thankfully, we slept through most of it. And then we had a few hours layover in Johannesburg, South Africa, and then another much shorter flight to Victoria Falls, Zimbabwe. And after having spent almost 24 hours exclusively with the same people, you quickly realize the impact travel partners have on making or breaking your holiday. So, let me introduce you to the folks that would be my only confidants for the next 3 weeks. Firstly, of course, you have me, the Dan, the man, the myth, coming in at a modest 19 years of age with one pair of spectacles. This young man is always up for a good party, a laugh, and wanted to make the most of his time in a foreign land. Next up, gracing everyone with her company, we have the ever beautiful, always caring, considerate Kathleen, who found herself in a new continent, new family, new everything. But thankfully she took it like a champ, always encouraging us to embrace the holiday to the fullest, and she may have even enjoyed herself a little bit along the way as well. Now we did go with my family too, but to save them from any embarrassment, I'll just tell you that I had my awesome little sister with us who made the best of her trip despite mostly having no internet for 3 weeks.
I'm melting! Melting! Oh, what a world, what a world!
And my parents, who were both very caring, supportive, loving, but most of all, they were very good travel guides for Africa, because oh boy, would we have been made fools of if we didn't have their experience, all thanks to them growing up in, and this brings us to, Zimbabwe. This was our first stop on the tour, and from the moment we landed, it was clear that this was the third world. Really long lines at the airport, very limited mobile coverage, and of course, a tribal welcome. Now, if you didn't know, roads in Zimbabwe are notoriously crappy. The saying goes that drunk drivers drive straighter than sober ones because they forget to avoid all the potholes. But despite the road ahead, we had made it. We were in Africa, the real Africa, and just driving through, we knew this was something different. The animals on the side of the road, the greenery, even the driver was talkative like you wouldn't believe. And that's something that's a big part of Zimbabwean culture, conversing, sharing humor, telling stories. There was never a shortage of interesting chats to be had. So we got to our lodge, signed in a reception, and then went to our hut. Not a room, not an apartment, a hut. Every place we stayed was a hut. No concrete ceilings in sight. So we've arrived at our lodge, settled in, and we're now fully in Africa. And immediately 3 things became clear. First, mosquitoes, they'll get you, okay? So put on your damn spray, take your malaria pills, all right? Thankfully, they have nets over the beds to protect you while you sleep, but at day, you are a target, okay? Second, lock your damn doors or zip up your tents because, as you may or may not know, the economy isn't the best over there, which may incline more theft, but even more potent a threat, monkeys will literally come into your kitchen and eat all your food if you don't lock up, which thankfully didn't happen to us. Thirdly, there are bugs everywhere. Like, every kind of bug, every kind of where. So if you have any squeamishness in you, get rid of it, because it's not gonna be welcome. Now the place we stayed was great. We had this veranda / barbecue area behind our hut, and in the afternoon, a plethora of animals came walking through. We had monkeys galore with their little babies eating up all the fruit and berries. It was the cutest damn thing you'd ever seen. Okay, look at these freaking guys. Baboons, waltzing and swaggering, showing everyone who's boss. We had a little guinea fowl running like headless African chooks. There were impala right there, just looking so freaking majestic. It was like a live screening of Bambi, not 5 meters away. Okay, and even warthogs, the pumbas, Hakuna Matatas, walking around with their babies' little tails high, mother warthogs protecting them. It was amazing. It's a real life pumba. And that kind of thing really was the beauty of where we stayed, and Africa in general. My parents talked a lot about how Africa used to be when they were growing up and what it could be still. And they're not even talking about some colonial vision of the place. They mean it should be vibrant, colorful, full of animals. The economy should be booming. Farmers should be producing. The roads should be flat and not like you're on a boat. As we were driving through town, we saw lines go round the block of people waiting for fuel because of the petrol shortage. People left their cars empty and unlocked for hours because they knew fuel wasn't coming anytime soon. Plus, who's going to steal a car that doesn't have any fuel in it? Now, as much as it would make the experience and the place so much nicer to have first world technology and resources, that sort of thing can't just be imported into the country. It needs to happen by and for themselves. To give you a better understanding of what I mean, we visited the Victoria Falls Hotel and it was a nice place. In fact, the food was fantastic and the prices were very good, but it just didn't feel authentically African. It felt very much like a slice of the UK just plonked in Zimbabwe, and it just felt super colonial and plain weird compared to everywhere else we went.
Oh, very fancy. The urinals have about 45 different cakes in them, my goodness.
And so compare that to where we stayed at Lokatula Lodges. We had the bamani for dinner. It was much more tribal, much more Zimbabwean. The food was all local cuisine and was still delicious. We tried the pamani worm, which was really not very tasty.
Oh my god. Oh, mine's so much
Yours is
bigger
a
than
big
yours.
one. Ready?
Alright, you gonna go? Oh, got some bread? It's not horrible, but it's not really breakfast food. Thoughts?
Nah, not for me. Thank you.
But we got involved in the culture, so it was worth it. They even had an interactive drum show where they played us music. They got everyone in the room involved. Afterwards, they got everyone to get up and dance together. It really felt like more of an African experience where we got to take in and witness the local culture. I want to talk about money, because in Zimbabwe, the economic situation is terrible. And just so you understand what's happening over there, here for you now is a very simplified brief of Zimbabwe's economic history in under 1 minute. So, Zimbabwe, formerly Rhodesia, gained independence from the British in 1980 and introduced the Zimbabwean dollar, which was initially stronger than even the US dollar. Their economy was booming, due mainly to mining and wheat tobacco farming, but there was still lots of racial tension and government corruption. For context, Transparency International ranks Zimbabwe 157 out of 177 countries for institutionalized corruption. Yeah. In the late 90s, President Robert Mugabe and his government declared that in the name of racial justice, they would seize land from white farmers and redistribute them to black Zimbabweans. But in actuality, when the policy was implemented, the farms were taken away and given to friends of the government who had little or no farming experience and ran the farms and the Zimbabwean economy into the ground. This led to hyperinflation. The currency rapidly lost value, and by 2007, inflation was at 66,000%. In July of 2008, it had gotten to 230 million%, and by November of 2008, it was at a whopping 80 billion%. For comparison, here's Australia's inflation during the same time period. Yeah. By 2009, they stopped printing the Zimbabwean dollar to accept US dollars, and in 2016, they introduced the bond note, the new local currency that had a supposed rate of 1-to-1 to the US dollar. However, on the black market, you can get them at a rate of about 3-to-1. Whew. Okay. Now that you briefly know the economic context, let me walk you through how that translates to the actual experience we had. And what better way to do that than to tell you about our crazy first shopping trip in Zimbabwe. From the moment you get off the bus, within a minute of walking down the street, you're getting harassed by grifters. As a tourist, they know you have cash, and they're trying to sell you everything, from old Zimbabwean money to little animal figurines. So right off the bat, we're trying to block out all of that, whilst taking in such a foreign city street. The roads and infrastructure were clearly not well taken care of. And if you look up at the buildings, not 5 meters away from where you're standing, there are literal monkeys just hanging around on the buildings, climbing, having a good time, just waiting to jump down and eat your eyes out at any moment. You know, monkey stuff. So we walk toward the shop, hoping to not be made monkey meal, and these little kids come up to us, 10 years old, and they're asking for money. And as bad as it feels, just like the salesman, we say, no, sorry, not interested. But then they giggle and run away smiling. So at this point, I don't know up from down. This whole place's dynamic is totally opposing what we have in Australia, and with all that going through our heads, we go into the shop. Now the shop itself was relatively familiar, but it was the prices that really made it clear how bad things were over there. We paid $15 for one stick of butter, and the best part of it was when we got home, it was moldy. You want a 9-volt square battery for one of your toys? $53, please. Yeah, it was that crazy. Although it wasn't just a case of everything being more expensive, because beer was actually about half the price you'd pay here in Australia. So it was mainly a supply and demand thing. We ended up paying $80 for just groceries, some bread, milk, and eggs. But it was because those things are in high demand with low supply. So, like if we had spent $80 on beer, for example, then I personally would have been much happier with our value for money. The other thing to take into account is that the prices you're seeing are designed to be paid in bond notes, which, as I mentioned before, can be bought at a rate of about 3-to-1 in US dollars. So if we had had local currency, we really would have only paid about $27. So we got local currency. Now, before I said they sell it on the black market, and that's technically true, but getting some in reality was as easy as asking the hotel bar staff if he had any connections, which he did. So we got some at like 2.8-to-1, and it definitely made things easier. That lunch we had at the Super Colonial Victoria Falls Hotel, 5 of us ate and had a few drinks, and the price of the lunch came to $120, which is fairly standard. But now that we had bond notes, we instead paid the equivalent of $43, which is much better value. Now, if you do go to Victoria Falls and try this, be warned that some places charge double if you're paying in local currency, or straight up refuse to let you pay with that money because you're not local. But we did go to the local merchants, and haggling was an interesting experience. Kath was much better than I was, but they did accept bonds because, well, they'd rather have something than nothing. So keep that in mind in case you make the trip. But that's enough money talk. Let's get to the main event. Victoria Falls is one of the 7 natural wonders of the world, and it's no surprise because this place was amazing. Not only were the falls beautiful, even the walk to the falls was fantastic. It was tropical and insanely colourful. You're walking through this beautiful mixture of greens and blues and browns, and you feel the spray of the falls gently kiss your face. The experience was transcendental, okay? And that walk gets you close to the edge, like seriously close, okay? Move about 2 meters and you'll meet your death unequivocally. This thing, like you're walking on rocks, and then behind you is the whirlpool, and then over here is a bunch of falls and that. Like I'm freaking risking it all for the biscuit. That's there. Certain death is right there. So, and then you've got these crazy mofos over here who are like, what? You guys, the falls are right there, you crazy. Oh, yeah. Aside from the risk, it really was beautiful. We even saw a BBC film crew getting shots for an upcoming documentary, so it must be something worth seeing. And what better place to see it from than a helicopter? The ride was so full of rush and adrenaline. You've got the wind blowing at you, you've got this big headset on, and right underneath you is one of the most incredible sights you've ever seen. Money well spent. But I couldn't just stop there. No, I'd walked the falls, flew the falls, so I just had to jump the falls.
Let the sky fall. Let the sky fall. Let the sky fall.
There's my man. You saved me, you come to save me. It's hard to describe what jumping was like because it really was quite quick, but the adrenaline you feel when doing it is second to none. It was such a rush, an amazing experience, and it's scary while at the same time being so cool and crazy. It definitely is worth doing at least once. We also went on the Zambezi River for a dinner cruise, and that was fantastic. On the way there, we did see an elephant just chilling by the side of the road. Wow. Wow. Holy. But the river itself was beautiful. Sitting there with the sunset and the stream and the delicious dinner was such a serene experience. And, if you may, it was a little romantic.
Show me your soul. Honey, it's way past time. How expensive do I have to be? Need I spell it out before you get it, baby? Show me your soul. And honey, I'll show you mine. I'll show you mine. Oh, I'm standing right here holding up a sign.
And that was pretty much all we came to do in Big Falls. So, it was time to move on to Wangi, which is also in Zimbabwe, but this is like deep in the jungle, okay? This is rural to the 10th degree. And so, to get there, we needed a train. It was a nice little train with just us on it, and may I say, very good food and drink service. Thank you, Imvelu Safari Lodges. But the highlight of the train ride, apart from all of us getting to ride the train,
Can't you see it's way past time? How expensive do I have to be? Need I spell it out before you get it, baby? Show me your soul. And honey, I'll show you mine.
yes, the highlight was both the amazing view and all the animals we saw there. We were riding for about 2 hours, and in that time, we saw so much. There was giraffes, zebras, wildebeests, baboons, monkeys, birds, sables, tortoise, you name it, we saw it, okay? So at this point, we'd had an amazing game viewing before even getting to the lodge. But once we got there, we were not disappointed. The main eating and chilling area was awesome, along with obviously the food. There was a fireplace for chilling at night, and the tent we stayed in was insane. Okay, you've heard of glamping. Well, this was casping. So this is Wangi National Park in Zimbabwe. See, this behind me is where we're staying. Let me give you the tour. 1 chair for chilling, 2 chairs for chilling. A lovely couch area. We have some beautiful animal artwork on the walls. That is the master bedroom, which is identical to our room. So I'm just gonna show you our room and then imagine that happening twice. And through here we have the kitchen/dining area where you can eat or drink on the table provided. There are 2 fridges, one here for booze and one over there for water. Spare bed for having naps on, a cup of tea and Milo and coffee, something to cook breakfast and whatever, a barbecue even. This place has got everything. This is our room. You come in here and your first reaction should be, oh my gosh, you guys are so freaking lucky. After you say, damn, that girl is so beautiful. But you come in, you have storage. Here you have this beautiful bed. We've got these lovely windows to see the beautiful national park, but there are these curtains. This is a camping tent and it has freaking lights. You see this? That's electricity in rural Zimbabwe. What is this place? There's also like a nice chill area, which is where I've been doing some photo editing, a bit of drinking and looking out at the view. So it's all very nice. They got enough plugs for your heart's content. Through here we have the luxurious bathroom toilet. Over here we have, hello, the sink. And then here we have the lovely bath, which we used on the first night and is just amazing. Hot water is provided. Yes, that's right. I said they have hot water. Don't hold your breath. In the corner, the little toilet area. And then finally, we finish off, say hi, Kath.
Hi, Cat.
Ah, and then finally we finish off with this outside shower area, which was an interesting experience, showering outside, but it's nice to be under, and you're in nature, and it's like, look, there's the sun over there. It's just, this place is freaking amazing. I don't want to leave, quite frankly. And then came the game viewing. Now, thankfully, we had a great guide giving us our tour. His name was Aubrey, and he obviously knew his stuff. He had non-stop trivia, very conversational, and really embodied that Zimbabwean humorous storytelling I was talking about earlier. So, on our first day, within an hour of driving, we saw what I can only describe to you as the cheetah story. We're driving, looking around for animals, wondering how eventful our first day will be. You're not always guaranteed a live screening of the Circle of Life, okay? You might see nothing, but thankfully, we see a cheetah. Now, these cats are deadly. With a top speed of 110 kilometers per hour, if they start a chase, you can believe they're finishing it. This particular cheetah was a mama and was caring for her 4 insanely cute little cheetah pups. And the guide assured us because she wanted to protect her babies, we weren't in any real threat, but we didn't want to poke an anxious mama bear. So, we scooted up and left them to chill. As we drove, we saw a herd of wildebeests and another mama with her baby. Now, this little guy, cute as he is, was born not 10 minutes ago. These guys have got to be able to stand and run within the first 20 minutes of their life, and the reason for that is predators. Oh no, the cheetah's seen them. She's scanning that horizon. She's looking for a line of attack so she can pounce. She starts her run, and just like that, she's in flight, soaring, going for the kill. Like lightning, she strikes. And left behind in the rough are her little helpless babies. She finds a safe place to lay down her kill and calls the babies over, and surprisingly, cheetahs are just big cats. She meows them over and they're a little lost, but they get there in the end. And they feed like they're the kings of the jungle. See, when a cheetah runs like that, their bodies basically overheat. So she needed to lie down so her body doesn't explode, kind of. Whew. So that was the first thing we saw. Yeah. Next, we got the sleeping lions. We drove around a bit and saw this herd of lions, mostly female, some young guys who hadn't grown in their manes yet, but all very majestic. We caught a couple roars out of these cats and it was terrifying. Fun fact, lady lions are the ones who hunt. Hashtag girl power. But the next time we saw the lions, they were so sleepy and snoozy, it was hilarious. Okay, and it really put some truth to the whole sleeping lions cliche. They were like big, sleepy, lazy cats. That's all they were in that moment, honestly. Something that was really nice about the safari experience was that we learned a lot of cool trivia about all these different animals, thanks mainly to our wonderful guide, Aubrey. For instance, we learned that the lions are one of the Big 5. Now, the Big 5 were named by big game hunters as the 5 animals that were hardest to kill on foot with guns. Because these guys will take you down, even if you've shot them, and these deadly beasts consist of the lion, is tough. They're lazy, hence the sleeping lion's trope, but they're impulsive, which means if you attack, they'll come back at you with 5 times the oomph. The elephant is a big, beautiful, strong, thick mama. They're bumbly, clumsy, and rough, but they're protective of their young. So if you mess with an elephant, it'll be the last thing you mess with. The leopard is basically a more savage cheetah. Okay, first, obvious difference. They have rosettes instead of the cheetah's spots, clearly. They're nocturnal, so they hunt at night. Even though they're not so fast, they hide in trees and pounce. They'll tear apart hunters like it's nothing, which they've been recorded doing many times. And these last 2 big stocky fellas, the buffalo and the rhino. These big boys are rough, tough, and they won't go down without one hell of a fight. There is a small 5, supposedly named by the wives of the hunters as the 5 animals most worth taking a good appreciative look at. The elephant shrew, buffalo weaver, leopard tortoise, which we saw twice, the antlion, and the rhinoceros beetle. We did go on 2 more safaris where we saw painted dogs who may play in the water just like dogs and look like hyenas, but these doggos are killers. Okay, hyenas, quite literally, like the stereotype, just hang around and cackle the night away while eating scraps. But these woofers hunt in packs. They're the most efficient killers in the jungle with the highest successful hunt rate, and they're the only animals in the jungle to hunt and eat their prey, all while it's still alive. We saw the family of cheetahs again, this time after having hunted down a baby zebra. Now, cheetahs go for the throat, so their prey dies instantly, and as sad as it can be to see these dead wildebeest and zebra cubs, our guide was telling us that these wild animals don't have systems of empathy as deep as we do. They do get sad for their losses, but they're much more accepting of the fact that that's the way of the jungle. And cheetahs aren't much safer either, by the way. Okay, cheetah cubs don't have a huge rate of survival, so this mama is just as much in fear of losing her babies as are her prey. In the wild, it's hunt or be hunted. But it is cute seeing these kittens roll around and be the cutest little babies. These cheetah, oh, this cheetah mum is rolling around right here so she can digest her food faster to breastfeed her babies. And it's just so freaking adorable. I don't care if they're all monsters, frankly. Next up, we saw the deadliest animal in Africa. Okay, remember I said the wild dogs were the most efficient hunters? Well, they don't screw with humans much, okay? These next bad boys, ooh, they're a threat. And if you guessed crocodiles, sharks, snakes, you'd be wrong, because it's the mighty hippo that will cut you clean in half in one chop. These chunky mamas, they do spend a lot of time chilling. They're lazy mofos. They'll sunbathe all day, go underwater, chill for 10 minutes at a time. But if you screw with these alphas, ooh baby, you see those massive teeth, those big chompers, some dentures of note, they'll use them to split you right in 2. They can also straight up crush a human with them thick bodies, okay? That's why these guys kill 500 people a year in Africa. So just don't mess with them, full stop. We did see an elephant briefly and some zebras, and we had a totally luxurious afternoon snack by the sunset. Oh, this place was so freaking beautiful. And then later we did a night safari, which was quite interesting. We didn't see too much, but it was just a fun experience. And lastly, we did go on a pretty fun horse ride, which I did draw the short straw with, because my horse, Chiz, was a bit of a cheeky bugger, frankly, and he was giving me hell. This is my horse, Chiz. I am riding Chiz. Look, I'm bloody loving it. Look at me, I'm a bloody horse riding cowboy. You're okay. Okay, Chiz, we're gonna wait. Some of what we got up to in Wangi. So from there, it was time to move on via another very bumpy trip to a halfway house, and then through Bulawayo to a nice little lodge, where again I stress the food was great. And it's worth noting the money situation did come into play again, you see. Because there's a shortage of US cash, the owner of the hotel let us pay half price for our stay and food just because we were paying in cash. Only in Africa. We then went to the airport where they tried to get us to pay a $250 excess weight fee, which we got out of by telling them we had sports equipment, which was just snorkeling gear, which miraculously made them waive the fee again. From there, it was time for the reason we came to Africa and where we spent most of our time, Mozambique. Now this is a funny country because firstly you have to stop off at Joburg Airport to get on a smaller plane just to fly there because the airport's so damn small. And it's not a very popular or well-known country. But one way to get immediately familiar with the place is just to take a look at the flag, right? Which is totally normal except for, oh yeah, they've got an AK-47 right there on the front. But don't be alarmed, it's just their 3 core values, okay? Catholicism, farming, and war? I guess so. It's peachy. Now, thankfully, Mozambique is not in as bad an economic situation as Zimbabwe. It's not great, but mainly it's stable. There's not a cash shortage and everyone's not perpetually strapped for money. So that was nice. But still, as we drove from the airport to our lodge, there were some clear signs that this was the third world. The roads were still notoriously bad, as were the road rules, or lack thereof. There was a lot of trash left around, and you'd see things like 10 people standing in the back of a pickup just to get around. Something that was good, I guess, were the Vodacom stands around pretty much every corner, so you could get internet pretty easily, and once we arrived at our wonderful club in Asoro, the partying began. And our time in Mozambique really was the holiday vibe taken to the max. Okay, every day we chilled by the pool, or went to the beach, or went on the boat to wakeboard, or go fishing, or go to Paradise Island, and all the while drinking heavily. What was amazing about this holiday is that so many of us came together to be one big happy family, and as corny as that might sound, it was a truly amazing time with amazing people and experiences. And for that reason, I didn't get to film much while I was there, but there's only so much you can film of a bunch of people chilling together and eating amazing food and drinking a horrendous amount of booze. But I did film some stuff, and so for your viewing pleasure and to round out this film, I present you with highlights from Club in Asoro.
You said let's jump on the bus and take a ride downtown. Well, I don't know about that, but can you help me first to get these boxes down? Well, I don't know about that. We have the whole day now just to ourselves, so we can clean the house or clear out some shelves. You said whichever you feel like doing first. I said, well, I don't know about that, 'cause it's my lazy day, just wanna lazy away. Ain't gonna do a thing for the rest of the day.
We were in huts. Wow. A nice bed. We had an extra 2 single beds actually. There was a little makeup stand, and over here had the laundry cupboard area, bath tub, the toilet, the actual safe here, washing place where we brush the teeth and whatnot, and then an outdoor shower. And there were, oh, we've locked it, but there were a lot of outdoor showers that we had.
There's a whole list full of all the things we can do, but I wanna do none, wish that you did too. So you can just keep trying and I'll just keep saying I don't know about that, 'cause it's my lazy day, just wanna lazy away. Ain't gonna do a thing for the rest of the day. You can try to seduce me, make me wanna play. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
Everything will fall out.
How high is too
Christmas time, and I need you around, darling. So come home, so come. You keep me up all night, I try to figure this out, 'cause you left something for me under the Christmas tree. So baby, come home tonight and let me hold you real tight, 'cause it's Christmas time. Oh, it's Christmas time. Let us all come together. Let your love keep shining and for always be remembered. Yeah, 'cause it's Christmas time and I want you by my side, darling. So come home, please come home.
So to jump in for a sec, we did go haggling for some cool clothes, and this time around was much less stressful than bartering in Zimbabwe, and we went through the town, which was its own interesting sight. We went through the local deli that had very curious artistic choices and a few things I'll definitely miss. This big red hot sauce seen here with its wonderful creator, Dorje, curious artistic choices, hydrated me basically for most of my trip, and Tipo Tinto rum. Yes, for $10, this full-strength rum is regret and disaster in liquefied form, and that's all the more reason to love and miss it profusely. Ultimately though, the aim of the trip wasn't to get drunk or to get fat from all the food we ate, which we did. It was to spend time together as a family, to make wonderful memories that will last a lifetime. So, thank you to Africa for having us, to Mozambique for being a blast, and to the AIDS for a trip we'll never forget. Here's to the next time. Let's hope, wherever it is, it's just as wild.